JD Vance is completely out of control, and the hypocrisy is breathtaking. Let me play you this clip.
Okay.
I think her tone is ridiculous in her speech. There are extremely serious consequences to voting for Donald Trump. I don't think that's persuasive to most Americans, and warning them about voting for the wrong person is just, I think it's ridiculous. Criticize his policies, criticize what I want to do, criticize what Donald Trump wants to do. But this whole wag your finger and warn you of extremely serious consequences, I feel like she sounds like a vice principal who's criticizing a student and not a vice president who's trying to lead the country. I just don't like the tone.
How rich is that?
It's unbelievable that with a straight face, he could actually say, attack the policies and not the person, when all Trump has done from the jump is attack people personally. And just as an aside, his policy, what's your policy on the economy? Drill, baby, drill, no tax on tips. That's his policy.
I just think it's incredibly rich that he says he doesn't like her tone. When JD Vance, just a couple years ago, I'm a never Trump guy.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is America's Hitler, and he attacks women every single chance he can get. He has no policies, JD Vance, other than to attack women. And he has this really bizarre and weird fixation on women as it pertains to breeding, whether you have kids or don't have kids. And this is such a weird take. You know, you hear maybe megachurch pastors kind of talking like this, but politicians alienating an entire gender of people that choose not to breed. This would never be applied to men. You know, we don't hear this accusation hurled at Lindsey Graham, who doesn't have children, but yet JD Vance is consumed with people that don't have kids. Let me play this clip.
And I think our conservative idea is that parents and families should determine what children learn, what values they are brought up with. You know, so many of the leaders of the left, and I hate to be so personal about this, but they're people without kids trying to brainwash the minds of our children. And that really disorients me and it really disturbs me. Randy Weingarten, who's the head of the most powerful teachers union in the country, she doesn't have a single child. If she wants to brainwash and destroy the minds of children, she should have some of her own and leave ours the hell alone.
This whole thing that we want to teach children values and only people that have children can teach other children values is so insane. On its face, it is literally ridiculous. Some of the biggest assholes that I know have children.
Absolutely.
Let's look at the top of the ticket. Donald Trump. He has 5 kids with 3 different women. He is a terrible father. It's clear that Eric and Don Jr. have major daddy issues. There's no question. He barely gives Tiffany the time of day. He talks about how he'd date Ivanka if that wasn't his daughter. So this is just completely insane. And his fixation on women having children is such a weird political stance. And if you look back through everything that JD Vance has ever talked about, almost every conversation he has always leads down this road. And there seems to be this just full-blown MAGA attack on women, both overt and covert. And these little things that whisper out from JD Vance, to me, they're overt, but they're kind of covertly getting presented in the media. The overt is obviously the overturning of Roe, and then them trying to wash it like, oh, we didn't overturn it. We just sent it back to the states. Well, women in red states are dying, bleeding out, carrying their rapist babies to term. And so if you want to talk about values, why don't you value women and value their choice and lift women up? Societies where women are honored, respected, and lifted up do much better as societies and communities than places where women are subjugated. And so I just think JD Vance is just a nut. And here's the most important part. Donald Trump is the oldest person that has ever run for president of the United States. He freebases Diet Coke and McDonald's. He could drop dead at any minute. Mm-hmm. And then we have this nut who goes around trying to otherize people that don't have kids, specifically women that don't have kids.
When I heard this, my first thought was, what is his fascination and his obsession with women having children? Is it a misogynistic thing?
Yes.
My first thought was, I wonder what Jennifer thinks. I mean, why would you be so obsessed with women having kids? The only thing I can come up with is if women have kids, they tend to focus more on the kids than career. And he wants women at home like a trad wife situation. But in my life, I have never heard, and I've been to plenty of mega church, somebody attack women for not having children. I find this so fascinating and offensive all at the same time.
I think there's a huge push from the Heritage Foundation, which we know J.D. Vance is intimately embroiled with, from that all the way down. And the first plan of attack was Roe. And then it's going to go birth control. And then it's going to be women. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have endorsed a gubernatorial candidate in North Carolina that has said that he does not believe that women should have the right to vote. And people could say, oh, Jen and Pumps are being hyperbolic. They're never going to do that. And my response is they will do it. They overturned Roe, and that was just dipping their toes in the water. And they feel so emboldened that they're now out saying these types of things. And I think it's also important to point out this whole parents' rights movement. A lot of kids have real wackadoodle parents,
Right.
Really nutty parents. And a school counselor where they can have a private conversation is incredibly important. And the J.D. Vance, the Donald Trump, the Heritage Foundation, these are the book banners. The anti-woman language is so dangerous and alarming that, again, the appropriate response, whether you agree with everything Kamala Harris says and does, is to go vote for all of the women in your lives, because under the Harris-Walz ticket, there is space for everybody. And if you don't want an abortion, you do not have to get one, but you cannot impose that upon everybody else. And again, I think it is sick and twisted that these men who have never been to medical school are consumed with what happens at a woman's OBGYN appointment. It's incredibly insane. All over the right-wing media, you're seeing this attack on women. And on Fox a couple of nights ago, Jesse Waters, world-class misogynist, says on air that the generals would have their way with Kamala. Let me play the clip.
This is where the president has his most impact. You have a lot of room to maneuver there as commander-in-chief. We don't know who she is. We don't know what she believes. She's going to get paralyzed in the Situation Room while the generals have their way with her. Right now,
Jesse,
Jesse, I don't like that.
Figuratively,
Take
again,
it back.
have their way with her, control her, not in a sexual way.
It's pretty bad when Jeanine Pirro calls you out for being sexist and misogynist. And this is insulting on so many fronts. Number one, he just assumes that everybody is going to see Kamala as an object of sexual desire.
Right.
And number two, it's very disrespectful to the generals who have worked their way up military rank. Many of them fought alongside women in battle. And the military has had a history of problems with women serving, and it's had its own arc that they've had to go through to get women and men equally on the same footing. So to say that a potential female commander-in-chief would just be so hot and sexy that these horny generals would want to jump her bones in the Situation Room is disrespectful to the military, to women, to the country. It's just amazing that advertisers can justify buying ads on that man's show, especially considering all of the sexual controversies at Fox News in its past.
Right. I am so offended by this comment. Number one, I think exactly what you said. It assumes that everyone is thinking about sex with a female all the time, and that generals do not have the self-control to not be thinking about sex in the Situation Room. I found it repulsive. He is disgusting. And I'm with you. If Jeanine Pirro is offended, you've gone a long fucking way. You've gone way over.
And I just think, again, we go back to who is voting for this ticket, who is watching Fox News, how morally bankrupt you have to be to listen to that and not change the channel in the year 2024. Who are these advertisers that are advertising on Fox News? A larger web of accountability needs to be cast because this is a cancer. And if you listen to everything they say, all roads lead to an American Taliban type situation. Women are, men just want to screw them all the time, and it's their fault if they turn men on. It's just, it's very Sharia law, but cross out Islam and put in Christianity. And that's exactly what Project 2025 is. Pumps, what you got for us today?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but Jack Smith, the special counsel, filed a superseding indictment against Donald Trump to bring it into form with the Supreme Court's immunity decision. And there were a couple really brilliant things that I thought about this. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a scheduling order due. And Jack Smith says, I need more time. And he was granted more time because, of course, the Trump ticket agreed for him having more time. So I assumed that maybe we were going to push it off or something because the election was so close. But yesterday, he filed what's called a superseding indictment, which means he cured errors that were in the first indictment. And what he did, which I think is brilliant, he brought it before a brand new grand jury. So this is an independent grand jury with the facts, removing all of the claims that could fall under immunity, and presented those facts. And the grand jury still returned the same indictment. And it's very specific because of the Supreme Court immunity decision that anything in the official acts of a president, he is immune. And that you cannot look to his actions prior to the act or his intent prior to the act to prove the action was outside of his official duties. So he reframed the arguments, used only the facts that Donald Trump did as a candidate for president, as a private citizen running for president.
With the stealing of classified documents and taking those to Mar-a-Lago, is that considered an official act per the Supreme Court?
No, because that happened after he was president. He took the document because they're not charging him with stealing, they're charging him with obstruction. So they went down to Mar-a-Lago, they tried to get the documents back. He was not president during that time. He refused to turn them over.
So those types of charges are still pending. And then
with one caveat, Judge Cannon dismissed that case because she said the special counsel was unauthorized.
But he's appealing that, correct?
Correct. And it will be overturned on appeal, no question.
Okay.
That's settled law. So we've got the Georgia case. We've got the election interference case there, the election interference case in D.C. The documents case will come back, and he's already been convicted on 34 felony counts in New York.
I cannot believe that we're talking about all of these crimes, a literal crime spree. Mm-hmm. And then in the next sentence, you can say the Republican candidate for president. And he has all of these legal issues that are that no normal person would find themselves in even a fraction of these. And again, you have all of these people that claim to be law and order voters that care so much about the country and about patriotism, when the entire world saw that man rile up a mob of rubes to march over to the Capitol and beat the shit out of cops, walk into the Capitol, take a shit inside the Capitol, go, hang out in Nancy Pelosi's office with the entitlement of, just a spoiled toddler. And it just amazes me that there are millions of Americans that claim to be patriots, good Christians, love the country, and they see this moral depravity And they feel so entitled to go vote for this man again because he hates the same shit they hate.
Right. Because he is homophobic, because he is a bigot, a racist, a misogynist. It is jaw-dropping that this man, who is, like you said, a walking crime spree, would even be considered for president. He can't get a job at 90% of the workplaces in the United States because he's a convicted felon.
And he's a disaster with the economy.
He's a disaster.
This whole notion, I am so sick and tired of people that we know, that know better, that still cling on to this myth that the Republicans do such a bang-up job with the economy. There's a recent stat floating around that when you consider the presidencies of Obama, Clinton, and Biden compared to I believe I might be getting this wrong, Reagan and Bush, W, and Trump, 50 million jobs created under Democratic presidents, 1 million under Republican presidents, 50 million to 1. Yet they still find cover in saying, oh, I'm just a business guy. Economically, this is just so good for me. And it's like, no. You know underneath that, he likes to otherize people. The exact same way, and this is not hyperbolic, but this is the exact same way that World War II started. Hitler said, here is our enemy. It is the Jewish people. And they started revving it up, and then off it went. And the exact same thing here. Immigrants are our enemy. The rainbow mafia, they are our enemy. And now they're starting to beat the drum that women are our enemy. Women who don't have kids, women that have careers. It's just, I don't know how anybody with a daughter or a mother or a sister can vote for this party.
It's unbelievable. And that women will vote for him against their own self-interest.
It's jaw-dropping. All right, subscribe here. Subscribe if you're listening to the podcast. And we will see you guys tomorrow.
It's so